The camera today is a Agfa, and it's a camera which I was kindly lent by a guy called Phil Peters, who trades in used cameras and has a fantastic store at Mindhead, but he has just fairs. And I was doing a talk recently and he very kindly said, Andy, if you want to borrow a couple of cameras to test, or any camera to test, please do. It's very kind of him. And a camera which I noticed he had on his store and I had never used was this Agfa Ambi Silette. Silette cameras were manufactured by Agfa in the 50s and 1960s, and they were good quality 35mm cameras. And I picked this one up thinking it was very much out of range, but it has a slider here which reveals a rangefinder. I thought, this is different. Not only has it a rangefinder, it has a choice of lenses on the top. It has a 50, 35 and 90. And what I hadn't realised was if you press this little button here, the lens will come off. And it reveals a leaf shutter here. So this is a far more sophisticated camera than I realised. We all go nuts about Leica cameras and rangefinders and lenses. Well, here is a camera with a rangefinder with a range of lenses. Let's look at it in a bit more detail. To load, you open the back here and it's manually loading. We have an indicator here of exposures. We'll decide what lens. This is a 50mm, so let's set the viewfinder to 50. Why that is important is with whatever it's selected, it will have slightly different guidelines. That's the term I want. So the guidelines are determined by that number there. We focus, and obviously we focus with the rangefinder. We have in the middle, we'll have a second image, and we focus until the two images go together. That's how a rangefinder works. There's no meter on this camera, so we have to use a light meter or Sunny 16 rule. And the shutter, which I explained, is a leaf shutter. We can set from B to 500th of a second. Now 500th of a second for a leaf shutter is very good, and that is absolutely fine. So this, when it was first launched, I think it was launched in the mid-50s, was a very sophisticated camera. We have a choice of lenses, we have a choice of shutter speeds, we have it's light, it's modern looking, and when we compare it with the Leica M2, which was out at the time, okay, this isn't of the quality, but it has a lot of the features of that camera. And it's nicely made. We have a shoe on the top, so we could put a flash on, and we have a lead connection there. So this camera gave you a range of lenses, it gave you flash, you had that wonderful thing of being able to look through the viewfinder, and having a very easy to use rangefinders. The rangefinders were very popular cameras. It's light. This one has been well used, but it's still mechanically very sound. Let's see what happened when I took it out in the field to use. I literally took it out on probably the dullest afternoon of the year. It was an afternoon in early January, about 3 o'clock, and the light was really going. I visited the small town of Wareham in Dorset, and as I said, it was dull. However, and I've seemed to have two versions of a very similar photograph here, and you can tell the sharpness isn't too bad considering I'm probably at about 3.5 here. And I'm on about a 60th of a second, and the image is usable. This is a tiny bit soft, might have a tiny bit of camera shake, but if you were there, I think this is quite a true reflection of just how dull the weather actually was here. The lens, I think, is picking things out quite well. I say that, and then I look at this image, and you can clearly see that in the distance the clock is out of focus here, but the foreground is okay. And it's a bit strange because I'm pretty sure I was on infinity here, but even being on infinity, now this is down by the river and it was getting even duller, but I think this is okay. As I keep saying, the camera performed quite well. This particular example has definitely been well used, but I've said it before, sometimes you get a well used camera and it's been cherished, it's been looked after, and because it's been used, it actually performs better than a camera that might have sat just on a shelf for years. Cameras actually like to be used. It keeps them subtle, it keeps the shutters going. Again, bit grey this image, but we do have a certain degree of sharpness. I think it very much reflects the type of afternoon it was. As I said before, it was a very dull January afternoon, and you can see how dull it is because the lights that restaurant there are beginning to come on, and the lights of cars passing in the street are showing. So, but we have got this quite good contrast on the whole. Here are some birds sat on Wareham Bridge. The Isle of Purbeck is in the distance, a beautiful part of Dorset, and a part of Dorset I'm very much looking forward for taking more photographs on a slightly warmer and sunnier day. But in conclusion, I was pleased with how this camera operated. It operated in the dullest of conditions. So thank you very much for watching. If you see one of these Agfas, it might be well worth having a go with one. Again, many thanks for watching. Bye for now.